We about ready to get started? Do we have, or should we wait a couple of minutes?
Chair, we might wait one minute.
Okay.
Thank you.
The numbers on the call are growing rapidly, so looks like people are logging in.
Chair Cross, I'm going to need to step out around 10 o'clock or so. I've got to walk across the street to get some dental work done.
Okay.
I'll be back within an hour.
Well, thank you. I hope you are back.
This is not by choice.
Within an hour.
Yes.
I wish you luck with that. And I'm happy you can join us at the beginning of the meeting, and then I know you'll be back for the report out on the transfer council. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's actually a small thing, so I'll be back within an hour.
Having spent time in that chair recently, I don't wish it on anybody. So, all right. I think we're I see that I believe we have a quorum. Karen, if you would, I'm going to call the meeting to order. And I'd remind someone to everyone to mute their phones unless you're speaking, and then also if you're not currently presenting, to turn your cameras off. So we'd like to have commissioners with cameras on and guests with cameras off. So, and with that, I will call the meeting to order and ask Karen to call the roll.
I sure will. Thank you. Chair Cross.
I'm present.
Vice Chair Rowe.
Here.
Commissioner Adams.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Ayers-Proboski.
Present.
Commissioner Becker. Commissioner Edwards.
Present.
Commissioner Fajardo. Commissioner Ferreira. Commissioner Gillard.
Here.
Commissioner Heyman.
Present.
Commissioner Lujan Valerio. Commissioner Roper.
Present.
Commissioner Valdovinos Torres. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you all. And I want to open our meeting today with a few remarks. I had 3 items I briefly want to reflect on, share with you. The first of which is the recent bomb threats at the historically black colleges and universities, and to express our solidarity with the students and faculty and leadership at those universities, and to condemn that activity that not only disrupts the opportunity for education, but is a threat to our capacity to learn, to a nation that is based on equal access to education. And I want to go a step beyond the call for solidarity and condemnation, and call for racial healing as a path forward. That I think what we're experiencing is the dynamics that occur with change, particularly major demographic change, and major change in how the way things like higher education have impacted the many diverse peoples of our nation. And as people grow, as people from diverse populations grow in numbers, but also in level of education, the tension of those dynamics raises, and we have an opportunity either to handle that tension through an approach of healing or conflict. And I call on all of us to promote a path of healing. My concern is we can do this well or we can do it poorly, and if we do it poorly, we are all at our peril. And I'll send a link to an article from the Chronicles of Higher Education discussing particularly the issue of academic freedom and the kinds of things that are being talked about in other places. We have escaped, I believe, mostly those conversations in Oregon so far, but and I think I'll have bend forward that to all of you, just to see what because we need to be prepared for courageous conversations in Oregon as well. The second item that I have is this is much more pleasant, and in a way both pleasant and heavy for me. This is Enrique's and Larry's last meeting as commissioners. Larry's terms expired, and I want to thank him for his mentorship of me when I joined the commission, his support, his inclusion of me in the realm of higher education. So a personal thank you, and as well as the commission's thanks for your service over the years. And I'd open it up for any comments that anybody wants to add to to my words. And please, Lee. And there we go.
Thank you. I would just like to add that Larry has been an incredible role model and so wise. That the pieces that he brings to the table, it always makes me feel like I have a set view, and then all of a sudden it just starts broadening. And so thank you for everything you've given. It's been an honor to work so closely with you over the years, and I certainly hope that although the work on the HECC moves in one direction, you might be moving in another. I know they will combine and end up together at some point. So over the years and into the next years, I look forward to all that we will do to help Oregon become the Oregon opportunity in higher education that we dream it to be. So thank you, Larry.
And I should also mention that Larry will be appearing with us as a liaison to the Transfer Council. Greg?
Yeah, I just want to thank Larry. I've known him from his work at Oregon State University and also in a little special organization called Jackson Street Youth Services. And boy, I've come to respect him, learn from him, and he's just a great person to know and to have in your life. And I know that as he moves on, he'll probably do something other equally significant to the things he's done in the past. And I'm grateful for knowing you and for being able to work with you on the HECC in a short period of time.
And any other, Frank?
Oh, thank you, Chair Cross. Larry, it's been a pleasure to work with you these last 9 years now, since 2013. It's I can echo what Lee and Greg have already said, but I won't. They've already said it all. I just want to say what grace you carry yourself with, that we can all learn from that. The grace, meaning the integrity and the respect that not necessarily commands, but that shares, that you share, exude, and then we benefit from that. We all benefit from that. And if we benefit from that here in this room, then the lives we touch in turn benefit. It's that wonderful pay it forward domino effect that we all know about. So thank you for that, Larry, as well as of course, all your expertise, your kindness, your humor, your good laugh. So we appreciate you and hope you won't disappear like Johnny Carson did. You still be a liaison like Terry Cross just mentioned. So hopefully our paths will continue to cross. Thanks, Larry.
Well, thanks, everyone. And if there's additional comments, please send them to Larry. Larry, we're going to keep you working with us, and it's just such a pleasure to have you work with the Transfer Council. It is an important role, position. Anything you want to say before I move on?
No, I really just want to say thank you, and this is the learning experience for me has been powerful. The relationships will be, for me, will be sort of ever present in my heart, because I feel like not only have I gotten to work with you all as people, but I've also gotten to feel your spirit, and it's that spirit that really gives me incredible confidence, and I would tell anyone to have confidence in HECC. The commission as a leadership body, because I know the commitment that people bring to this work, and the belief that they have in the power of education and the potential of young people from 5 to 80 who participate in our higher education system. So I really want to thank you all. And I just offer one note also. Chair Cross, appreciation for you for acknowledging the issues related to HBCUs, and knowing that, and that again, part of this group is beyond sort of our sphere, but understanding that we're part of a global community of people who are stewards of education and of learning, and just deeply appreciate that. And I will continue to watch the work of HECC, because again, I feel like I am enriched by the work that's done in this body. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. And again, thank you for your service. And look forward to continuing our work together in another way. And I don't believe Enrique is with us yet on the call. And I do want to acknowledge, I don't know whether he'll join us later or not. If he does, we'll have a chance to say a few words to him. We'll come back to this, but I just will note that most of you, or here all of you, are aware that the legislature changed the composition of the commission and the voting membership. And Enrique was a strong supporter and advocate for that change, and I know that he looked forward to voting, but in the process, that advocacy had ended up in his position being appointed to the governor by the governor, and so Enrique's seat is now will be filled by someone else, and so the cost of advocacy is sometimes high, and I want to say that Enrique's voice has been influential to my thinking, and particularly the passion that he brings for the constituencies that he's a part of. And so it's hard to replace a voice that has that depth of perspective and strength of advocacy. But he's going to be in a new role at OEA, and I trust that we will continue to hear from him, and we'll let him know how much we appreciate him if he joins this call later today. The last item I want to reflect on is my own leadership. This is my third meeting, and I'm been thinking a lot about the issue of protocol and or formalness or versus casualness with our meetings. And part of that reflection is on how confusing that might be for new members. All through the time that I've been on HECC, it's felt like we follow Bob's rules of order versus Robert's rules of order. And I think that's okay until we get to a place of tension or difficult discussion. So I want to make sure that we always have the opportunity to fall back on the formality of Robert's rules, as it says in our policies and procedures that we should do. Now, for me, the issue of naming and titles and the conventions that we use, there are some cultural issues. When I had a call yesterday with a young man from Chicago who was calling me about my work, and he called me Uncle Terry, and which in my culture is a title of respect. So when particularly students but if I addressed Commissioner Heyman as Uncle Greg, I don't think anybody would kind of know the esteem with which I was holding him. Or if I called Sandy an elder, she might take offense. And as a colleague of mine did, not just a few years ago when I was giving a thank you talk for her service on another committee, and my characterization of her as an elder was not to her liking, and I heard about it later. So sometimes our expressions of how we express our respect for people is different culturally, and the more we walk down the path of equity and inclusion, diversity, we run the risk of cultural bumps. And so I want to avoid as many bumps as I can, but also have transparent, open discussion about that. I really appreciate the staff's use of protocol, and it's a good lesson for me. And I would like to invite feedback on people's preferences, and to invite anyone in the group to call a point of order. If you feel like something we've not done it correctly, as the chair, I want to make sure that we are fair, transparent, and all legal in our decision making. And so please, if you would help me with that. I've chaired several committees and boards of directors, mostly in Indian country, and but never something as formal as a state commission. So I'm learning and I'm getting used to, and it's not necessarily in my nature to address each person, certainly not in my cultural orientation to address people as, Commissioner Edwards or this is, and so please, no offense if I call you by your first name, but I'm I'm on a journey to follow my role model, Sandy Rowe, as she's been chairing the F&A committee and does such an amazing job of leading that committee through difficult territory. And Sandy, thank you for your example of the formality. And I'm going to be working on that. It may take my entire tenure to get there, but please bear with me and know that I have the deepest respect for all of you as my colleagues, and I will work to get there. And please, any feedback that you have about that, any need for clarity, conversation, we can put this on the agenda at some point if you want to. I'm simply raising it because it's what I've noticed about now that I'm at my third meeting. My brain works much better when I'm relaxed, and when I'm relaxed, I tend to call people by their first name. So we'll see how we get there. So with that, I just want to say on our agenda today, we've got our usual reports and several consent items, some consent items that are a little bit different. So we're going to have in our public testimony, we're going to hear about a couple of them, and we'll close today with some rule items. We're going to be continuing our practice of invited testimony relevant to our strategic roadmap. We're going to have testimony from Dr. Sandy Tsuneyoshi, and we will be looking at having an equity update, the important work of the evaluations of the truths, our first transfer council report, and we'll pause this afternoon for ethics training. So let's begin with the approval of the minutes from November and December, and we have to go back to November because we didn't do it in December, and I own the responsibility for that. So so with that, any additions, subtractions, amendments to the November minutes? I see heads shaking, so
I move adoption.
I would second that.
Moved by Larry and seconded by Greg. So, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. And the same, I'll entertain a motion for the December minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Larry, seconded by Sandy, and call for vote is all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. As a good friend says, we're not afraid to make the tough decisions. So, all right. Well, let's move on with the next item on our agenda. And my agenda just went down. Karen, what's the next item on our agenda?
Next item is to approve, Ben, our executive director, will present the request to approve the revised HECC policies and procedures.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair Cross. Thanks, Karen. I'm happy to say just a word about this. It's in your packet. You were presented with updates to the HECC policies and procedures recently in November, and you adopted several changes then. They've been additionally updated for your consideration to reflect the implementation of Senate Bill 712, which, as Chair Cross mentioned, alters the membership of the HECC. I should say altered the membership of the HECC effective January 1st. And House Bill 2992, which increases the daily compensation rate for qualifying members of state boards and commissions, and that bill went into effect in September. So both of those new laws are reflected in the proposal for updates to your policies and procedures manual. I like having this in front of you from time to time just to remind the commission of the existence of this manual, which is, again, in a sense, you could think of as bylaws. They're not structured quite like bylaws, they're policies, but have a similar effect to what you may on other boards experience as bylaws of your board.
And this is an action item. We need a motion to approve the policies and procedures.
I would move to approve the changes in the motions and procedures.
Thank you. Motion, and Sandy's a second. Greg moves and Sandy seconds. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. And with that, next item on our agenda is the Executive Director's report. Ben?
Yeah, thanks, Chair Cross. And before I begin, I hope the minutes for this meeting will reflect that I believe Commissioner Fajardo and Commissioner Lujan Valerio joined towards the outset, but after roll call. So from Commissioner Fajardo and Lujan Valerio will make sure they're recorded as being present for this portion of the meeting. And thanks for joining. And let me just begin by joining in the appreciation that you gave to Commissioner Roper for his service. You know, Larry is one of three, along with Frank and Lee, commissioners who have served on the HECC since its inception in 2013 under the current form. And in those 9 years, he has deeply influenced I think the values by which the commission has operated, and the values that we've attempted to try to, and I think have permeated the organization, the agency that supports the HECC. And those include authenticity. They include a spirit of kind of humble leadership, and they include a sense of a real breadth in our vision, right? I think I'll speak for myself. There was a tendency in assuming this role, or an inclination to become kind of technocratic, right? Because we have some very technical, as much of your agendas reflect, some very technical responsibilities. And Larry, in his leadership and his words and his conversations with me and with others, has imparted that sense of responsibility for a larger vision that isn't merely the exercise of our technical responsibilities, but the sort of tone setting and signal setting and spirit of leadership for post-secondary education in Oregon and broadly. So I'm so glad that we'll continue to work with him as our liaison to the Transfer Council, and I'm really appreciative of his service. As Chair Cross noted, Larry, Commissioner Roper, will leave as a result, or end his service on the commission as a result of the governor's recent nomination, and we expect Senate confirmation of a new commissioner for that seat, and Richard Devlin has been nominated and will appear before the Senate for confirmation this month, we expect. Likewise, again, as Chair Cross noted, we have the governor nominated Aislinn Matias and Motutama Sapelli to fill two of the new voting positions that were created to represent students, staff, and faculty at colleges and universities. So we've got two of those so far, and assuming confirmation, they'll join the commission, and along with Richard, for our effective March 1st. So changes in store, and excited for the new voices and the expanded sort of role of the commission. We are, and I'm sure Lindsay will touch on this as well, we are in the midst of a surprisingly big legislative session for the HECC, and you'll get a full report from Kyle and from Julia, from our staff in a few minutes. So I won't say much about this now, except that we are HECC staff, and higher education and workforce development is very much at the center of the governor's priorities and legislative conversations at the moment, and it represents really some enormous opportunity for post-secondary education and workforce development in Oregon. So this is a sort of unexpectedly significant session for higher ed and workforce development, and thanks in particular to the governor's leadership, we see some real gains to be made as a result of, we hope, legislative action over the next few weeks. So more to come on that throughout this meeting. I think I'll conclude. I'm going to keep this pretty brief in the interest of time, and I'll conclude with just a couple of notes about the agency, a couple of updates as it relates to the Higher Education Coordinating Commission's agency operations. As you know, Ramona Rodemaker has served in the role of deputy director of the agency, supporting me and working with our leadership team across the offices, while simultaneously being the director of our Office of Operations, with its responsibilities for fiscal and IT in particular. I decided a couple of months ago and announced that we would be making Ramona, sort of putting her fully within that deputy role and hiring an operations director, a full-time operations director, who will work kind of behind her, but with the day-to-day responsibility for our fiscal activities, budget development, accounting, procurement, IT, and so forth, and giving Ramona the ability to really take on that leadership role, especially internally for our activities across the agency. That means that in slight departure from some of what I talked about with you in connection with my self-evaluation last fall, that means that we will employ a single deputy model as opposed to the two deputy model that I had at one point envisioned. So just wanted to sort of clarify that in terms of our organizational structure. We're just not funded for a two deputy model. That could have worked under a scenario where at least one of those deputies was filling another role within the agency. But I'm very confident in Ramona's ability to support me and the commission in this agency-wide leadership role, and look forward to her getting to know you better in the coming months and years, and in helping our staff really execute on your vision and leadership. The final thing I'll say as it relates to agency news is that we remain, as you can tell, in a work from home status for the most part. Our offices remain closed to the public. We are looking forward to learning from the governor and the Department of Administrative Services when we may expect to start to reopen the office to the public and to more staff. But that announcement hasn't been made yet, and you know, we will continue to be working largely from home. I think there's maybe reason to hope and expect that our next scheduled commission meeting in April could be held in person in Salem, but we'll see, and we'll keep you apprised. But the work continues. It's remarkably, everyone has gotten really good at this, and I can certainly say that about the HECC staff, who fill their day in virtual meetings, online meetings, and are, as you can tell from your agenda, and it's just the tip of the iceberg, getting an enormous amount of work done in the virtual environment. So I think with that, I'll conclude and pass it back to you, Chair Cross.
Thank you, Ben. And so we'll move on to the governor's report. And I see that Lindsay Capps is with us. Welcome, Lindsay. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair Cross, Vice Chair Rowe, and members of the commission. It's great to be with you this morning. I'll try to keep my comments brief as well, but I'll touch on just two additional sort of higher education priorities that the governor is advocating for with the legislature during the February session, and I'll end with just a quick update on executive appointments. So I think at the last commission meeting, you heard quite a bit about the governor's workforce proposal, Future Ready Oregon, which is working its way through the legislative process. We expect the bill to move out of the Business and Labor Committee shortly, and then it'll be considered by the Ways and Means Committee. I know you'll hear more today from Kyle Thomas and Julia about that proposal, and you have that in your packet. But feel free to reach out to our office if you have any questions about that. In addition to that $200 million investment in our workforce, the governor is also proposing a $30 million grant program that we have been working through our government-to-government relationship with Oregon's 9 federally recognized tribes. And the intent of that proposal is to cover the full cost of attendance for any enrolled tribal member from Oregon's 9 tribes. This would be predicated on their federal grant awards, the Pell Grant, their Opportunity Grant, but whatever remains, this grant program would cover the cost, as that has estimated by each of the 7 public universities and Oregon's community colleges. So we're extremely excited about the opportunity. This proposal also establishes a treasury account that in future legislative sessions could be established an endowment fund that would be self-sustaining and operate in perpetuity. The second proposal the governor is putting forward, and in tandem with our public universities, is the Oregon Strong Start program. This is a $7 million requested appropriation. The governor was very excited to use some of her federal emergency relief dollars to help establish this program in partnership with an appropriation from the legislature. This program really helps most especially our BIPOC and tribal students and other historically underserved and underrepresented students make the transition from high school to post-secondary education. It provides additional academic support, skill development, career exploration. And so we're the governor's very excited to continue that program through this coming summer, and hopes that is an established program going forward. So we're appreciative to our public university partners as well for their work on this program. So those in addition to the workforce package are some of the initiatives that has been mentioned will be significant implementation efforts by the HECC, and I want to just acknowledge the work of the HECC team, the Office of Student Access and Completion, for their partnership with our office in developing these policy proposals. The last thing I just want to touch on is executive appointments, and for the commission to be aware, we are continuing the process of recruiting, interviewing, and making appointments for Senate consideration and confirmation for the positions that have been added to the commission under Senate Bill 712. We are excited, the governor was excited to put forward the names of 2 individuals that Ben spoke about today to serve in the graduate student position and in the non-faculty position. We're excited for Aislinn and Motu's potential service if they are confirmed by the Senate, which we expect them to be. But we have additional work to do, and we'll be doing interviews in the coming weeks. We are asking candidates for these positions who meet the qualifications of the positions to apply by March 4th to our office. And we will be doing interviews with the expectation of putting forward, we hope, a full slate of nominees for consideration by the legislature in May. I think most of you are aware of the governor's communication to the commission and to the legislature last June to extend her expectations and criteria for executive appointments. And we will be obviously sharing this again with various stakeholders who may be putting forward applicants or encouraging others to apply. But it's very clear in the governor's mind as she looks at these appointments that we are continuing to look at the diversity of our public boards and commissions, and the HECC is no exception in terms of having representation from Oregon's Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Asian Pacific Islander, and tribal communities. We are looking, the governor is seeking those who have an understanding that in serving on the HECC, their primary obligation is to serve the people of Oregon rather than particular interest groups, that they will be equity focused, student centered, and outcomes driven in their approach to matters before the commission, that they understand and demonstrate an understanding of effective higher education governance and the role of the commission in establishing clear systems of accountability. And I think as a matter of how commissioners show up, and I think this is reflected in the membership of this commission now, recognizing that inclusiveness, cooperation, and consensus are essential attributes of an effective public body. So in addition to the work that you all are doing in terms of mapping a strategic roadmap for post-secondary education that is looking at longstanding systemic barriers and transforming Oregon higher education, we are looking for those who will also carry that charge in assuming this important public responsibility as a member of the Higher Education Coordinating Commission. So we will continue to work in consultation with Director Cannon and his team in this interview and consideration process. And I'm happy at any time to meet with, consult, ask, have questions asked of our office from any member of the commission as we go through this process. But we look forward to rounding out the membership and direction of this commission by May and have a full voting body. So with that, Chair Cross, I'll yield my time, and I welcome any comments or reflections from any member of the commission during this time if you so choose, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you. And I thank you for the clarification, reiteration of that policy and the governor's expectation that's we're ready and excited about going with the new composition and of membership. Are there questions or comments for Lindsay? And I don't see any, so we're right back on our agenda schedule. So thank you so much for for your report. Look forward to hearing from you next, maybe in person next time.
Likewise, yes. Thanks for the time this morning.
Great. And next item on our agenda is our invited testimony. And joining us today is Sandy Suneyoshi. And in the process of learning how to say her name correctly, I learned that her name means always good. And so we have high expectations for you today. So thank you for being with us.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to just say a very warm aloha kakahiaka to you, which means good morning in Hawaiian. And I know, first of all, I have only 5 minutes, so I'm going to try and rapidly get into this. I did have some comments about the first roadmap, strategic roadmap, but I'm going to send it to you because it's so long and extensive. So I'm just going to jump in. And as Chairman Cross said, in my culture, students always called me Auntie Sandy. So what I'd like to look at is roadmap number 2. And I believe really at the state level, there needs to be more input monitoring and additional legislation. When I look at House Bill 2864, which was passed in 2017, we talk about where's progress. So my question is, how much transformation has actually been accomplished in 5 years? The state needs to determine how progress is to be assessed, monitored, and data collected. My campus experience included periodic new diversity plans with no minimal or no progress. There's lots of talk going on, but no walking the talk. So the areas to me that to review in this, about the cultural competency is that I think you can look to the multicultural competence in healthcare and medical boards because they have criteria that is quite, to me, really detailed, and there's a lot of specificity because you need to have some baseline and consistency across institutions. For example, what does cultural competency education include? The content. Are you talking about like knowledge about communities, practice, values, belief? Does it include self-reflection about unconscious bias? Does it talk about systemic racism? The second thing, the mode of training. Is it detailed which ones are to be online and computer based and which one is in person? The last thing is that I believe that as in the healthcare, that staff should be required and mandated to complete the education that you put out there. I was also up here about the governor saying, because my next area has to do with accountability. The transformation that we all hope for will not be realized if you do not create mechanisms to hold colleges and universities accountable. There must be consequences to individuals, administrators, faculty, or institutions, whether it's funding or not funding to be awarded, or maybe give them grades, A, B, C, D, F, or satisfactory and unsatisfactory. But they just need to be accountable. The next thing I would like to talk about is the issue that, I hope that you can also collaborate with state K-12 departments, commissions to promote multicultural competence in teaching and support, because it would be remiss if you do not look at the fact that Pacific Islanders and other students of color have not and will not even pursue higher education because of their minority status, stereotypes, prejudice, differential treatment, discrimination, and simply ugly behavior that occurs in K-12 classrooms. Also, I'm sorry if I sound like a running motor, but I have to get this all in. The other part is that school licensing boards need to require cultural competence training as a license requirement. Now, I do believe on campuses for the students that a course needs to be required that will prepare them to have an equity lens in college, in their careers, and as global citizens. They have sometimes the DPD requirements, but it might be, life in New Zealand. But we need to have them really focus on issues that really might be relevant to them be more culturally competent. I created and taught a freshman course that included, competency about target populations, self-exploration about privilege, bias, intercultural communication. And it was really touching. There was a Euro-American student who 4 years later, she stopped me and said, "Do you remember me?" I said, "Oh yeah," and I did remember her. And she said, "I want to tell you that of all the courses that I took at Oregon State, your course is the one that I believe will help me in my career and my life." And it was really touching, to hear that it had that much impact on her. So now I'm going to move on to a topic, and the basic needs area, I will, submit something. But number 4 on your roadmap, it kind of breaks my heart to really talk about this next area, and it is about graduate students. In my master's program at Cal State San Bernardino, my Euro-American male faculty member told me that I would never get my PhD. I went to Michigan State for my, clinical psych degree, and on my first day on campus, the head of the clinical program told me that he was glad that they bombed Hiroshima. So again, these are minimal incidents to me compared to what I have heard from the graduate students that I have worked with. And it just, okay, wait. So, for me, it was like for them being on the war zone. To me, there was friendly fire, sabotage, landmines, atrocities. And the bottom line is that they were bombed out of their programs and did not graduate with their master's or PhD. And it had nothing to do with their abilities or their grades. At all, nothing. The impact on them was race-based trauma, PTSD. As a graduate student, the major professor is like God, who can determine your success or demise. I think there needs to be established alternatives that when problems arise, the goal is not to protect the faculty or institution, but to establish a committee whose goal is student success. I'm sorry, that's a really hard one, for me. Is my time up? I'm sorry, can you tell me if my time up, somebody?
We're going to give you as much time as you need to finish.
Okay, I'll just do one more section. Just a short one. We talk about want to increase the recruitment of faculty, administrators and staff. That's a critical one. But the more important place to be is how do you retain people? Because they walk to me on the same war zone, and their experiences, whether it's other faculty members or this, is to me very, just again, another heartfelt, really just painful kinds of feelings. I just really believe that, thank you for saying I could have more time, but I will end because I will, document this. But I noted that, if you ask a community member to come, and actually, to be honest with you, when I heard I had 5 minutes, I really said to myself, do they really want to hear what I have to say? I have so much to say and it's like 5 minutes. So, but I really tried to put this important part, really into a short thing for you. But I will submit testimony. I hope you did receive copies of kind of my summarized vita, and also the issues about the Pacific Islander community that could drive your work. I'll end there, and I thank you very, very much for even letting me appear.
Well, thank you. And it's so important to get your voice on the record in support of this roadmap and any advice that you have. So your written testimony, it will be reviewed and included in the record. So we're extremely grateful for you being here with us today, and you touched so many areas that resonated with my personal experience in higher education, and for my daughter as well. And so it's ongoing, it's multi-generational experiences. Are there any questions for Dr. Suniyoshi?
No questions, but I just want to offer deep appreciations to Dr. Suniyoshi, Sandy, and knowing that what she expressed here was not rhetoric. This is example of her lived leadership and the practice as a professional that I observed and had the privilege of seeing for 20 years or so. We're old. And the one thing that I think that's really important is that she talked about just sort of the consequence of people not having certain competence. And earlier, Chair Cross, you mentioned the question about the issues that are going on in education right now, particularly I think the censorship, and that it has not come to us yet. But I really fear the long-term social consequences of that. The idea that we want to somehow protect people from affective learning when later in their careers, and I think particularly about medical education. What does it mean to try to educate a doctor who has never had to deal with an affective issue, and then they're going to be exposed to pain and suffering in medical education, but they've never had to process feelings in a learning environment? I just think that there are some long-term social consequences for this that we've not thought about, but that commissions like this, as we begin to think about how we interact with the K-12 schools and others, that we really play a role in trying to influence some of that discourse, because I just think that it's going to have some dire long-term social consequences.
Thank you, Larry. I see that Ricardo's hand is up.
Thank you, Chair Cross. I just want to also thank you for the testimony, for the presentation. It's just kind of mind-boggling how it's still current today, and maybe different aspects, but still very present and current within our education system. And I do want to emphasize the point of the continuum of students being encouraged to come to higher education, especially for low-income Oregonians, people of color. How we're not even touching third grade and beyond to really prepare them for this experience and encourage them for this experience. And then also the point of accountability. This is a very ongoing conversation that happens in this body about what is the role of the HECC? What are our purviews? What are areas in which we can hold accountability beyond just a reporting mechanism, beyond just a 30,000-foot view lens? And I think your words are exemplary to how we need to have these conversations and really assess how we as a statewide body can be a force of action and support to making change happen, not just within our own body, but within the whole higher ed institution, and how we are also part of the puzzle for the 20 continuum. So I just want to thank you for your words. That was really powerful.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that, what Larry commented about, it's the impact on people that really hurts. I was a VISTA worker in Sunset, Louisiana. I lived and worked in the Black community 10,000 years ago. But at that time, we so sang out, "We shall overcome." But I changed the words a couple of years ago to "We shall all endure." And it's just hard, that I see the future of our students. I see my children and the impact, growing up in a very, in quotes, majority community, European American community, in Corvallis, and it just, work needs to be done. So thank you very much for what you all are trying to do.
Dr. Sumiyoshi, several comments that you made, I think, are important to the future of the roadmap, and one is around the accountability issues. Do you have suggestions, specific suggestions, and thoughts about that to help guide our work?
Well, I think just beginning, like I said, what I was trying to lay out is that, to me, you'll need to lay out what you're assessing them on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to lay
Right.
out exactly what you're going to do. But as it exists, I don't see the feedback loop to have somebody really monitoring and looking what was done. Holding accountability. I'm on the Samaritan Health and helped them write their first diversity, equity and inclusion. And, accountability they're really on it, man. If they have to have this training, but it's all detailed as I laid out. It's detailed exactly what they have to accomplish.
Right.
And if they don't win these meetings, we have to do it, it has to get done. And the state is looking at them. And I don't know what the board is that's different, what they have, but they are under the gun. And I think it's like they're going to lose funding. They're going to lose in that case. Something's not, the funding, I believe, is the issue there. So they have to have some kind of consequences. How do we train our children? They have to have consequences and accountability. It's no different. They need to be held accountable.
Well, it's striking that at a time of declining enrollment in higher education, we have the highest tuition that increases that we've ever had, and as a proportion of cost and the cost of borrowing for students, and the dynamic of changing demographics. And we know that in Oregon, the population that has historically been the main population to attend higher education, the white graduates of high school coming into college is not, that's a diminishing population in terms of its size, and the growth in the age group that is most commonly comes to college is in the Latinx, American Indian, and African American Black population. And at the same time, your words strike so poignantly that if people don't feel safe in the environment, then the university's system, the higher education system, is not offering a product that people want to pay a high price for. And that's something, just from an economics point of view, a reason to make the changes that you're calling on us for. So that these are difficult dynamics to navigate through, but I think we can do it with the kinds of actions that we're seeing right now. So thank you for coming and adding your voice, and my apology for the structure that only gives, and may I say, elder as yourself, as a title of respect from me, as to come and share your words with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I am a kapuna in the Hawaiian culture. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Cool. Bye. And we now have public testimony open. I think we have one person's signed up, Karen Lynn.
I'll send you an updated sheet. I believe we have a lot more than that.
Okay, let's move into our public testimony. And Karen, who's first on our list? Karen, you're on mute.
Thank you. Our first person to sign up is Richard Hirschman.
Thank you. And for the record, will you state your name? And
Sure. Chair Cross, Vice Chair Rowe, Executive Director Cannon, members of the commission. My name is Richard Hirschman. I am with the National Association of College Stores. As you consider the proposed rule later today for course materials, we'd like the commission to consider the following, and we did submit more detailed comments as part of the NPRM notice. We share HECC's desire for colleges and universities to provide students with improved estimates of the cost of attendance. We think institutions can and should be doing more. We've long called for this, and we're pleased that there were some recent changes in the Higher Education Act back in December of 2020 to do that. But that's really not the issue before you today. The issue is whether these costs of attendance can realistically be accurately captured within the specific parameters of this law in the course schedule and the bookstore, published prior to the opening of registration. We believe that if this rule is adopted, it places an undue burden on institutions and bookstores, and more importantly, will not achieve accurate and reliable information for students. In Florida, 13 public institutions fail to meet similar requirements for course materials 45 days out before the start of the term. The Oregon law, in contrast, requires the information be published in some cases over 5 months before the start of term. Adding these additional requirements beyond course materials will make it even harder to comply with this law. Registrar schedule and bookstore course material listing software are not capable of collecting and presenting all the data required under this proposed rule without significant changes. The memo that you received as part of the packet today, we believe incorrectly states the legislative intent of the language and directly related course fees. We know this because we proposed this language, which was to ensure that institutions offering inclusive access programs and other content delivery models other than the traditional retail self-purchase models were appropriately disclosing these directly related content fees in the course schedule. Finally, we're concerned the proposed rule may violate the Administrative Procedures Act by HECC failing to conduct a cost analysis of the proposed rule and its impact on colleges and small businesses. The docket memo asserts that the proposed rule takes an expansive view of what constitutes course materials and course fees, and that HECC has the authority to do this in crafting regulations. The memo states the proposed rule undoubtedly requires institutions and bookstores to do more and notify students of all substantial costs that may be incurred as a result of course registration. The fiscal note to the law suggested that the cost would increase if supplies and other items would be included, and that there may be increased costs on institutions and bookstores beyond the estimate. Oregon State, University of Oregon, Portland State are all served by nonprofit small businesses. However, the NPR made it clear that the commission did not consult with small businesses on what the potential impact would be on their businesses. We believe the commission should not approve this regulation until it's met the requirements of the Administrative Procedures Act by conducting a cost and economic analysis on colleges and small businesses. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you for coming before us today.
Thank you very much.
Karen Lynn, next item, next testimony.
Next testimony is Robert Winningham.
Welcome, and please state your name and for the record, and welcome to testimony to HECC.
Thank you. Chair Cross, Vice Chair Rowe, Executive Director Cannon, and esteemed commissioners. For the record, my name is Rob Winningham, and I serve as Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs at Western Oregon University. I'm going to speak about Applied Baccalaureates, Bachelor of Applied Sciences today. 9 years ago, I had the pleasure of sponsoring the first Applied Baccalaureate at Western Oregon University to help students who had earned a terminal associate degree, a non-AAOT degree, transfer into our university and finish in a timely manner. Today I'm speaking about Chemeketa Community College's proposal to offer a Bachelor of Applied Science in Applied Management and Leadership. This is an educational and career pathway built upon their Associate of Applied Science or AAS degree. Western has long seen the value of applied baccalaureate degrees that can better serve students that earn a transfer associate degree, a non-transfer associate degree. Chemeketa Community College's proposed program was designed to build upon solid technical skills gained in their AAS degree programs and help these students move into management and leadership level career opportunities in support of our shared workforce development goals. Chemeketa serves as a Hispanic serving institution and helps diverse and underrepresented students complete their educational goals. Western Oregon University is excited to find ways to build upon Chemeketa's success and help create additional opportunities for degree attainment. To that end, Western and Chemeketa have plans for the proposed Bachelor of Applied Science that's on your docket and agenda today into our Masters of Arts in Organizational Leadership program, which is primarily delivered at our Salem campus for interested students. In addition, Western Oregon University faculty have been involved in consulting with Chemeketa as they refine their proposal for a BAS in Applied Management and Leadership curriculum. In looking at the data for Chemeketa's AA students who transfer into Western's programs, we do not see that this program will adversely impact our enrollment. More importantly, this new degree program has the potential to better serve students in our region. In conclusion, I wholeheartedly support Chemeketa's proposal for a Bachelor of Applied Sciences in Applied Management and Leadership. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. And just to add a note, this is an item on our consent agenda this afternoon. And this, so we will be looking to approve a step in a process. We won't be approving the degree, only the moving forward of that degree to the next step in the process. So I appreciate and there's the time. You did well on your 3 minutes, so thank you very much. And I believe that we have others giving testimony. Helen has her hand up. Helen?
Can I just ask you a quick question?
Yes, please.
What do people do as an alternative to what you're proposing?
I'm not trying to understand your question.
So the particular degree, the combination of applied sciences and business and leadership, how do you do that? How do you get that equivalent experience or learning without this being put together?
Yeah, I would really defer to my colleagues at Chemeketa on this, but with the system we have now, what happens is the students that earn Associate of Applied Science degrees, so these are not AAOT degrees that generally take care of all of the gen ed when they transfer into the university. So hopefully it's through good advising at the universities where the students will transfer to, that the students can take as much of the general ed requirements as possible, as much as the program requirements. But that was why we created the Bachelor of Applied Science degrees at Western. We have quite a few, because we would see that students in the AAS program, particularly at Chemeketa, so for example, they have a wonderful human services program. The students that would transfer to Western with an AAS in human services, the minimum they could graduate with was 210 credits. And that was if they did everything perfect, and nobody did. And so it is hard for these students in these programs to finish in 4 years. Impossible to finish in 4 years, as far as I'm aware of. And that's really the value of having the BAS, the Applied Baccalaureate degrees, at the universities and now at the community colleges.
Okay, so that was my question. Really, was trying to understand the streamlining and the connection that you've done here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question and the clarification. Any other questions? Next person is Mel Gregg from the city of Woodburn.
Okay, hi, good morning. I think, can you see me?
Yes, please.
Dear Chair Cross, Vice Chair Rao, Commissioners, and Executive Director Cannon, good morning. My name is Mel Gregg. I'm here to testify my support for Shemakita Community College's application for Bachelor of Science in Applied Leadership and Management program, which is, as you said, is on the agenda today as the consent item. I have been serving at the advisory committee for the Office Administration and Technology program of Shemakita Community College. I'm also the HR director for City of Woodburn. At the city, we strive to hire and retain qualified, well-trained, and skilled staff to serve our community. As an employer, one of the hardest challenges we have is to find these qualified and skilled workers. Our city is a mid-sized organization where we don't have the luxury to hire and grow our own staff, but need skilled, at least journey level employees for most of our technical and paraprofessional positions upon hire, because we do so much with such small staffing numbers. We also struggle with succession planning for leadership and management positions, where more knowledge, skill, and qualifications are preferred, but in some instances it's required. In law enforcement, for example, having a bachelor's degree will help applicants stand out from other applicants for entry-level positions. The minimum requirement to be a police officer in Oregon is a high school degree. But if an officer wants to promote to leadership roles, they will need to attain upper-level certificates from DPSSD, such as the management or executive certificates. And having a certain number of college credits is a requirement by DPSSD. And a 4-year degree is required for positions like deputy police chief, captains, police chiefs by the hiring agencies. Most agencies will prefer a 2- or 4-year degree to promote to even first-line patrol supervisory positions such as sergeant. So we know any degree will enhance chances for employment and promotion in almost any field. And education is one of the bona fide qualifications under Oregon pay equity law that can explain a pay differential between jobs of a similar character. It's almost impossible for most of us to quit our jobs to go back to school full-time, let alone like a working single mom, for example. An applied bachelor's program would allow people to get 4-year degrees while working and therefore prepare themselves for promotional opportunities. Many employers, such as us, were willing to pay part of tuition in order to have a more knowledgeable and skilled workforce and for succession planning. In technical career fields such as building inspectors, accounting, administrative office workers, criminal justice, and law enforcement, a promotion from a line level to a leadership role translates to a real increase in income. And as employers, we have better qualified applicant pools, both internally and externally, as they develop and enhance their technical knowledge and skills, improve their incomes and standards of living. Thus, we lift up members of our communities, some of whom are coming from underserved populations, where now they will have opportunities for education and subsequent career advancement, or they may not have had any before. I'd like to finish by offering some figures that demonstrate what percentage of income increase can be seen in certain career fields. Looking at the comparable cities for Woodburn in population, a police officer can get a 35% increase in income if they promoted to a captain or lieutenant level position, a 45% increase for police chief positions. Similarly, a building inspector, for instance, usually the highest level in this position in the series, would increase their income by 27% by becoming a building official, where a 4-year degree is often required. I'm a firm believer in continuous learning. I personally take adult education classes at Shemakita Community College, which serves my community and the communities I draw employees from. Benjamin Franklin said an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. And I believe an applied bachelor's program would offer a leg up for the underserved, the single moms, and other disadvantaged populations. I believe this is how we build our communities up. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to testify this morning.
Thank you, Ms. Gregg. Any questions? All right, well, next up is Harmony Forbes from Santiam Hospital and Clinics.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, Chair Cross, Vice Chair Rowe, Commissioners, and Executive Director Cannon. My name is Harmony Forbes, and I am the Medical Assistant Coordinator for Santiam Hospital. I currently manage, teach, support, hire, and when needed, discipline around 60 medical assistants. I come to you today in support of the Chemeketa Community College Bachelor of Science in Applied Leadership and Management application that is on your agenda. I personally know all too well, not everyone is awarded the same opportunities in life. Not every hardworking adult was raised in a home where education was put forth. They might not even have had that as a priority at all. I was raised in such a home. At 16, I went to Marion Estates to obtain my CNA because that was all I could afford at the time. Since then, I have done a vocational schools for phlebotomy and medical assisting. I have been working full-time since I was 16, working nights and going to school during the day. After 16 years at Santiam Hospital as a medical assistant, I decided I needed to be the person making the decisions, creating the workflows, and telling people how things should be done. Since starting at Chemeketa Community College in the business management program, I have learned so much. Every single class I take, I can apply to my job that day. I have seen so many other managers here that do not have this type of education making terrible mistakes that could have been avoided had they had this education. Organizational behavior, medical law and ethics, diversity in the workplace, and organizational performance with customer service have been essential to my management skills. I use these every single day. To have the opportunity to go back to school and obtain a bachelor's degree with Chemeketa, where they already know you, they know how to train working adults, they know how to teach them, they know how to support them. This would be an opportunity I just do not see the downside to. I mean, is there ever really a reason to deny education? Thank you for allowing me to share my support for Chemeketa's bachelor program.
Well, thank you for coming before us today and for your courage in offering your words. You're an excellent spokesperson for this degree, so thank you for coming today.
Yes, thank you.
Any questions? Lee?
Thank you, Harmony. Thank you, Chair Cross. Harmony, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey with us. I appreciate the emotional pull that you feel also when talking about this. It has been what seems an incredible road, and that the road still continues. And I really appreciate hearing how much this has impacted your life and the leadership that you get to offer through what you're learning in higher education. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Next on our list is a panel. Anna Gonzalez, Harley Kimball, and Fabi Labib. If I mispronounced your name, please forgive me and help us with pronunciation. So Anna, are you going first?
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Anna Gonzalez, and I'm here to show my support for the application of Mount Hood Community College Bachelor of Science for Cybersecurity. I work for Palo Alto Networks, a cybersecurity company that offers curriculum for cybersecurity programs like this. A major driver behind these kinds of initiatives is the critical need for qualified cybersecurity professionals in the community. According to DICE, 7 out of 10 organizations report having been affected by worldwide cyber skills shortage, and Forbes reports that the supply of available qualified security professionals is insufficient. A bachelor's program run by Mount Hood would give applicants and people in the community the opportunity to get this kind of education and fill these roles at a lower cost with a great institution providing the education. I'm going to hand it over to Harley next, who will give a testimony of his personal experience.
Harley? And I think his video is frozen. Let's see.
In that case, Fadi.
Hey, can you hear me?
There he is. Fadi?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So I'm Fadi Labib. I'm a cybersecurity consultant with NetSpy, and I'm here also for the Bachelor of Applied Science offered by Mount Hood in cybersecurity. And I believe it's the best step to get cybersecurity professionals into the job market quickly, since most of other degrees focus on theoretical concept alone, which is not sufficient. So adding applied security skills is critical for successful employees in that field. Mount Hood has a great associate program and security certification already that are very applicable to demanded skills in the security industry. And I believe expanding that level of curriculum designed into a 4-year applied program will give graduate an edge over many other applicants for similar positions. Our company, for example, hires many fresh graduate security consultants every year, and they spend about 6 months training them in applied cybersecurity training. Knowing the level of training offered by Mount Hood, being there myself for one of their low certificates, and it's great instructions, I believe that our company and others like it will find graduates of this program, the new program, the BAS, many professionals that will better utilize our 6 months training and be ready to deliver exceptional security assessments to our clients. I highly recommend this program and Mount Hood to teach it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Harley.
My apologies. My internet decided to cut out right as this was supposed to start. Hi, my name is Harley. I'm a pen tester consultant. I'm also a manager of security operations. I hire a lot of cybersecurity professionals, and I graduated Mount Hood back in 2016. This is kind of a personal thing for me because I actually went to Mount Hood as a high school student, or at least I was able to attend a couple classes as a high school student. I knew I wanted to get into this space at a very young age, but there wasn't an opportunity for me to easily transition after graduation from an associate's degree into a bachelor's degree. And what ended up happening is I tried to transfer to a school, an online university that offered the degree program, and I dropped out. It wasn't working. It didn't work out too well. Essentially, it delayed my ability to get to where I'm at today on the path, or at least the timeline that I had wanted. So had this been an opportunity that was available for me when I was a student, I would have definitely jumped on it. So I hope you consider approving this opportunity. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for coming to give testimony today. And just for clarity for our group, this is a second consent item. Again, an interim step in the approval of a proposed applied bachelor's program, this one at Mount Hood for cybersecurity. Appreciate your coming to us today. And Helen, you have a question.
Clearly this is like a really important place, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciate what you said about it being, I guess, a little bit more accessible to more people. How many people are you anticipating being able to go through this? Like, what's the maximum number of people you could actually take with the current resources?
I'm hopeful Wayne Machuca may be able to answer that. I think he might be present, but I'd have to defer to him.
I am here if you want to speak to me.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. Would you please rephrase the question so I make sure I hear it clearly?
Can you give me an idea of of how many people you could take through it? Like when would you tap out? Like how are you thinking about how many people are going to go through this degree?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. And you know what? I want to give it as legitimate of an answer as I possibly can, because that's a really, really good question. So the program is designed, right? Whatever that means. The program is designed for a class maximum between 20 and 30. So we're looking at that realm. If we were hitting a cadre maximum of 30, that would be amazing. And as a community college, we'll take all comers. So if we have 30, if we have 10, if we have 50, we'll figure it out. Okay. And the neat part, I think this is what Harley was really trying to point toward. The neat part about what this program will do and makes it really distinct, is one of our unique features at Mount Hood Community College, is that we have the dynamics, the ability, and the flexibility to be able to work any program like an accordion. When it gets larger, we expand. When it's smaller, it contracts, and it works really, really well this way. And one of the things, and here's my evidence, because it's a fabulous question. When we saw that insane expansion in 2008 and 2009, you remember, where like everybody was going bonkers, we were able to expand to handle the capacity no matter what the capacity was. In 2012, 13, and 14, when we launched the original cybersecurity AAS degree, our program went zoom. It went like that. It was crazy. And we were able to handle it. That was the program that Harley was involved in. When enrollments began to contract a couple of years ago, right, we were able to contract as well and be able to maintain the quality of the program. So based on those experiences, we are confident that if the program comes in small, 10, 12, 15, fine. If we go bonkers and it's like, 40, 50 plus, no problem. We'll be able to cover that. I'm sorry, that's a really long answer, Helen, but did that answer your question?
Yeah, totally. That's a great answer. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, I'm going to mask off again.
Yeah, we have to move on. So thank you for coming to give your testimony. Your firsthand experience is very valuable to us. We have a couple of students to finish up our public testimony. Aaron Bertrand, I believe, and Kalani Montgomery. Are you with us?
Hey, I'm Aaron. Hello, members of the committee and other guests. I am a full-time student at Mount Hood Community College, and I'm here to support Mount Hood Community College's application for the Bachelor of Applied Science in Cybersecurity. I'm currently working in the AAS for computer game development, and I earned my first degree from Portland State University in 2008. Over the last 10 years, I've worked in technology support for cloud streaming and communications providers around Silicon Valley, and then I moved back to Oregon. One of my professional interests is helping ensure that departments and organizations I work with have good cybersecurity practices and policies. And that includes risk management protocols, business continuity plans, and plans to swiftly return to full service after disaster strikes. But when I went to college, we just didn't have programs that taught us this. So I have done a lot of self-learning, and it would be great to have kind of a better step up. So I've studied and I've picked up things where I can, but because I didn't start out those career, I'm really excited about the idea that we're going to have another local institution looking at expanding the capabilities of being able to provide a really good cybersecurity education. So I support Mount Hood's efforts. And I think it's just really important because, I know that cybersecurity has been such a big issue in helping protect and defend our public and private resources from accidents, fires and whatnot, and attacks. I think it's really critical. So thank you very much.
Thank you for appearing today. And finally, Kalani. You're on mute. Sorry, you're still on mute. There you are.
Thank you, all the members of the Higher Education Coordinating Commission. My name is Kalani Montgomery. I'm a student at Mount Hood Community College. I will earn my associate's degree in cybersecurity networking at the end of spring term. I love the outline of the bachelor's degree of applied science at Mount Hood Community College is offering. Excuse me. The bachelor degree would be beneficial not just for me, but all generations to come. As all of you know, cybersecurity has been on the news about every day. When COVID-19 hit the nation, we all saw an uprising of cyber criminals. There's a lot of benefits of having Mount Hood Community College open up a bachelor's degree. Students will be more prepared. My interest in cybersecurity degree is it's rewarding work. I would feel good about the job that knowing that I'd be helping protect people's livelihoods and privacy. I find this is great to be satisfaction. This is important and an exciting field. Protect people as a virtual security guard. My primary goal would be to protect individuals and company property. People will depend on me for protection, and I will be able to make the difference as a cybersecurity professional. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming before us today. It's really helps inform our decisions as a commission. Any questions for either of the students? Well, we are right on time with our agenda, and this, I believe it's time for our break. And let's. It's a bit of a juggling act to move back and forth between our. Yes, 10:30, and we have 15 minutes for our break, so we'll see everyone back here. And thank you for joining us, Enrique. As before we enter into our consent agenda at 10:45, we just want to say a few words with Enrique, and so come back after the break, Enrique. We want to thank you for your service. All right. We'll see you in 15 minutes.